Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something pretty profound, I'd say, the philosophy of technology.
Ooh, that sounds intense.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. So we're talking about how technology and human values, how they kind of bump up against each other, how they intertwine.
Yeah.
And we've got some really interesting sources to help guide us through this.
Yeah.
We've got the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, and then this really cool scholarly article all about revitalizing human values in our super tech-driven world. So get ready, because we're about to unpack some really big ideas.
I'm ready.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how we always hear that technology is just a tool, right? Like it's neutral,
Right.
just a hammer or a screwdriver.
Like a simple hammer.
Right. But our sources are kind of pushing back on that a little bit. They're saying, what if it's more than that?
Yeah. It's so easy to fall into that trap of thinking like, oh, technology, it's neutral. It's just a tool. It's how we use it. But the reality is that technology is embedded with values, like right from the start.
Right from the get-go.
You think about who designs it, why they design it the way they do, what they intend it to be used for.
Totally. It's like the intentions behind the technology,
Yeah,
those come from our values, right?
exactly.
Like what we think is right and wrong, what we care about, what we prioritize.
Yeah. Think about even a hammer. A hammer can be used to build a house, or it can be used to cause harm.
Right?
The technology itself doesn't decide that. It's us.
It's the intent.
Right.
Yeah. And both of the encyclopedias, they really highlight this idea that technology is all about. It's about shaping the world according to our desires.
Interesting.
Right. They even mentioned these thinkers, Skolimowski and Simon, and they said technology is all about this striving for what ought to be, not just what is.
What ought to be.
Yeah. So it's like this vision of how things should be.
Right.
And then using technology to try to make that vision a reality.
So then it becomes a question of like, whose vision
Exactly.
are we?
Whose ought are we talking about?
Yeah. Whose desires are we shaping the world around?
It gets kind of complicated because it's not just about the technology itself. It's about who has the power to shape it and to use it.
Right. And that power dynamic it's really important to consider.
And then the Stanford Encyclopedia, they brought up this idea of operative theories.
Operative theories.
Yeah, so it's like, imagine you're baking a cake.
Okay. I like cake.
Right, so you have your recipe, that's your theory.
Right.
But then when you actually start baking, you get your hands dirty.
Yeah. You learn things along the way.
You learn things along the way. You might have to adjust the recipe a little bit.
For sure. Maybe the oven's a little hotter than you thought or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what operative theories are all about.
So it's like the actual doing.
Yeah, the actual doing.
The making.
The making, the creating, that's where new knowledge emerges.
I like that. So it's not just the theory, it's the knowledge that comes from actually doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that knowledge, it's infused with all those choices that you made along the way.
Right. All those little adjustments.
Little adjustments. And those adjustments come from your values.
Yeah. Like if you decide to add a little more cinnamon because you love cinnamon, that's coming from your personal preference.
Right. So we're talking about technology not just as these neutral tools, but as expressions of
Values.
our values, our goals, maybe even our biases.
And all of that really comes together in the design process.
Right, because design is where those abstract values actually get translated into something concrete.
Totally. It's where the rubber meets the road,
Yeah, and our sources, especially that scholarly article, they dug into this really fascinating area called value-sensitive design.
Okay.
It's all about computer ethics.
Interesting.
So trying to anticipate the potential impact of technology on human values,
Okay.
and then like baking those ethical considerations right into the design process.
I like that. Baking it in.
Yeah.
So you're thinking about it from the very beginning.
From the very beginning, like
Yeah.
before you even write a single line of code,
Right.
you're thinking about things like privacy, fairness, accessibility, all of that.
So it's not just about making something that works. It's about making something that's good.
Exactly. It's about asking those tough questions up front.
Yeah, like who might benefit from this?
Right.
Who might be harmed?
What are the potential downsides?
Exactly. And what values are we promoting through this design?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
What values are we promoting and what values might we be neglecting?
Yeah. It's a lot to consider.
It's a lot to consider. But it makes you realize that design isn't just about making things functional or, aesthetically pleasing.
Right.
It's also about making ethical choices.
It's about responsibility.
Yeah. It's almost like can we design morality into technology?
Ooh,
Is that even possible?
that's a great question.
It is a big question.
And it kind of takes us to this whole debate about, can machines make ethical decisions? Can they be held responsible for their actions? This is a huge discussion in computer ethics.
Yeah. Like, if a self-driving car makes a decision that leads to an accident,
Right.
who do we blame?
Yeah. The programmer.
The owner. The car itself?
Yeah.
It gets really complicated.
It does get complicated.
Yeah, the Stanford Encyclopedia, they talked about the work of Wallach and Allen.
Okay.
And they were saying that the real challenge isn't just building machines that can make decisions.
Right.
It's about building machines that have some kind of like ethical sensitivity.
Ooh, like a moral compass almost.
Yeah, like can we program that in?
That's a big question.
It is a big question.
Okay, so we're talking about something much deeper than just, robots going rogue.
Right.
It's about how technology in all its forms shapes how we see the world.
How we experience the world.
Yeah, and how we experience being human.
Totally. The Internet Encyclopedia brought up Heidegger,
Okay.
the philosopher.
Yeah.
He was known for this idea that technology can kind of like inframe our thinking. Inframe.
Yeah, like it can limit our understanding of the world without us even realizing it.
I'm not sure I totally get that. Can you give me an example?
Sure. Think about like social media platforms.
Okay.
They're constantly competing for our attention, right?
Yeah.
They use algorithms to feed us content
Right.
that's designed to keep us scrolling.
And liking and sharing.
Exactly. And so what happens is we kind of get stuck in this like tunnel vision where we only see what the algorithm wants us to see.
That's kind of creepy when you think about it.
It is a little creepy.
Yeah.
And it can actually shrink our attention spans.
Right. Because we're just so used to that instant gratification.
Exactly. So we're trapped in this little digital bubble.
Right.
And it starts to shape how we perceive the world.
How we think, how we interact with each other.
Heidegger's point is that technology can subtly shape our experience
Wow.
in ways that we might not even be aware of.
It's kind of scary when you think about it. Are we becoming too reliant on technology? Are we losing something essential about what it means to be human?
That's where this idea of authenticity comes in.
Ooh.
The scholarly article really digs into this.
Okay, so like being true to yourself, even in a world that's dominated by technology.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up.
I'm really interested to hear more about this.
Yeah, let's dive into that a little bit more.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so the article talks about how philosophers like Buber, Marcel, even Heidegger, they saw authenticity as like this really important part of human experience. Like it's about living in a way that's true to yourself, true to your values, and true to the world around you.
Okay.
Yeah, like Buber, for example, he really emphasized the importance of like genuine dialogue.
Okay.
Like really encountering the other person face to face,
Right.
seeing them as a unique individual, not just like a means to an end.
Yeah, that really resonates with me. It's like putting down your phone and having a real conversation with someone. Like being present in the moment.
Yeah, being present.
Really listening to what they have to say.
And then Marcel, he talked about this idea of communion.
Communion.
Yeah, like connecting with something larger than yourself, something that gives your life meaning and purpose.
Okay.
And this could be through nature, art, spirituality, even like deep and meaningful relationships with other people.
So it's about finding those things that nourish our souls, that make us feel alive and connected.
Exactly.
And not letting technology distract us from those experiences.
Yeah, and even Heidegger, despite his concerns about technologies like inframing potential,
Right.
he also believed that we could find authenticity through like a more mindful and thoughtful engagement with the world.
Okay.
Like he suggested that we need to step back from our constant immersion in technology
Right.
and rediscover the simple joys of being present in the moment,
Okay.
appreciating the natural world,
Yeah.
engaging in meaningful work.
It sounds like these philosophers are all urging us to reclaim our agency in a world that's increasingly shaped by technology.
Yeah, to make conscious choices about how we use it,
Right.
what we create with it, how we allow it to influence our lives.
So it's not about rejecting technology altogether.
Right.
It's about using it in a way that enhances our lives and aligns with our values.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between the convenience and the power that technology offers.
Yeah.
And the need to preserve our humanity, our creativity, our connection to the world around us.
The article actually uses the example of education.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it talks about how technology had opened up all these incredible possibilities for learning and connecting with others,
Right.
but it's also led to a decline in face-to-face interaction, critical thinking, problem-solving skills.
Yeah, it's like we're losing some of those essential skills.
Right. So it highlights the need to be mindful of how we integrate technology into education.
Yeah, to use it as a tool to enhance learning, not as a replacement for human connection and critical thinking.
And it seems like finding that balance is key in all aspects of our lives.
I agree.
We need to find ways to integrate technology without letting it take over.
Right.
Without losing sight of those core human values.
Yeah, there's things that make us who we are.
Exactly. And the article also delves into some of the potential dangers of unchecked technological development.
Okay.
It talks about how technology can exacerbate existing inequalities.
Right.
And even threaten our very existence if we're not careful.
That's a little scary.
Yeah, it is a little scary. And we've already seen examples of this, right?
Like what kind of examples?
Like social media algorithms that manipulate our emotions.
Oh, yeah.
Or facial recognition software that can be used for surveillance and control.
Right, and those are just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we're on the verge of breakthroughs in artificial intelligence and biotechnology that could have like profound ethical implications.
Right.
The question is, are we prepared to grapple with those implications?
Yeah. Are we prepared to make sure that these technologies are used responsibly and ethically?
It's a big responsibility.
It is a huge responsibility. So what can we do?
Well, I think the first step, as we've been discussing, is awareness.
Okay.
Recognizing that technology isn't neutral.
Right.
That it embodies values and shapes our world in profound ways.
And then taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Not just passively accepting whatever new gadget or platform comes along, but asking those hard questions about its impact on ourselves and society.
And engaging in dialogue.
Yeah.
Having those difficult conversations about the kind of future we want to create with technology.
And not just in academic circles.
Right, everywhere.
In our communities, our workplaces, our homes.
Exactly.
So it's not just about philosophy, it's about action. It's about putting those philosophical insights into practice. Making choices that align with our values. Pushing back against harmful uses of technology.
It's about recognizing that we all have a role to play.
In shaping the future of technology.
We're not just passive consumers. We're active participants.
We are creating this future together.
That's an empowering thought.
It is.
It's easy to feel powerless.
I know.
In the face of these massive technological forces.
Yeah.
But we're not.
We have choices to make every single day.
And those choices matter.
They do. They shape not just our own lives.
Right.
But the world we're creating for future generations.
So we need to be mindful, responsible, engaged citizens in this technological age.
I love the mindful, responsible, engaged.
Yeah. So it's not just about the gadgets. It's about the values.
Yeah.
It's about who we are as human beings and who we want to become.
The scholarly article, it talks about this idea of a reorientation of technology.
Reorientation.
Yeah, like shifting our focus towards values.
Okay.
Towards justice, towards a more sustainable and authentic way of living.
So it's about more than just fixing the glitches. It's about asking those fundamental questions. Yeah, like, what is technology for?
Right.
How can we use it to create a world that's truly worthy of our humanity?
Those are big questions.
They are big questions, but they're important questions.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. It really feels like we're at this like crossroads with technology, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
It has so much potential to do good, but also, you know, if we're not careful, it could lead to some pretty negative consequences.
Yeah, that's why this conversation is so important. We can't just like sit back and just let technology happen to us.
Right, we have to be shaping it.
Yeah, we have to be active participants.
Making sure it reflects, you know, the kind of world we actually want to live in.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're all designers now, in a way. Like we're all making choices about how we use technology, what we create with it, what we allow it to do.
And the Internet Encyclopedia, they made this point that technology is really a reflection of human culture.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's not like this alien force that's come down.
Right.
It's something that we're constantly creating and recreating.
Yeah, through our choices.
Through our choices, our actions, our values.
Yeah, if we want a more humane, a more sustainable future, it has to start with us.
It starts with looking inward.
Yeah.
Examining our own values, how those values shape our relationship with technology.
And the scholarly article talks about this like technocratic consciousness.
Okay.
That's become so dominant in our world.
What does that mean?
It's this mindset that puts, like, efficiency, control, profit above all else.
Ooh. And that could be dangerous.
Yeah, it can lead to some pretty negative outcomes.
Right, like the manipulative algorithms and invasive surveillance technologies we talked about earlier.
Yeah, things that end up concentrating power in the hands of a few.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in that mindset. See technology as this inevitable force.
Yeah, like something we have no control over.
Right, but the philosophers we've been talking about, they offer a different perspective.
Yeah.
They remind us that we have a choice. We can reclaim our agency.
Mm-hmm.
We can use technology to promote human flourishing.
Yes, not just economic growth.
Yeah. And the Stanford Encyclopedia brought up this concept of engineering ethics.
Engineering ethics. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like building moral considerations into the design of technology from the very beginning.
So it's like, it's not enough to just design like the coolest new gadget.
Right.
You also have to ask, is this ethical?
Right. Is it sustainable?
Does it promote human well-being?
Yeah. Those are important questions.
And it's a conversation that needs to involve all of us.
Right. Not just the engineers and designers.
Yeah, like we all need to be having these discussions.
Yeah. In our classrooms, in our boardrooms.
In our living rooms.
Yeah, everywhere.
Because the future of technology, it's not going to be decided by a handful of experts. It's something that we're all creating together.
Through our choices, our actions.
That's what makes it so fascinating,
Yeah.
so challenging,
Sure.
but ultimately so hopeful.
Yeah. We have the power to shape the future of technology. Make it a force for good in the world.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the philosophy of technology.
Wow, that went by fast.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We covered a lot of ground today, from the nature of design to the quest for authenticity in this tech-driven world.
Definitely.
I hope you're leaving with like a new appreciation for how complex this relationship is
Yeah.
between technology and human values.
And a sense of empowerment, too.
Yeah.
Knowing that you have a role to play in shaping the future.
Absolutely. It's been awesome exploring these ideas with you.
Likewise.
And to all our listeners out there, keep reflecting on these questions.
Yeah, keep those conversations going.
Yeah. Have those conversations about the role of technology in your lives.
It's so important.
Yeah. And remember, the future of technology, it's not predetermined. It's up to all of us to shape it
Yeah.
in a way that reflects our values,
Yes.
creates a world that's truly beneficial for all.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.